If you're new here, this is our Winnebago Revel Otis, and it gets us to some pretty cool places like where we stayed last night. This is part 5 in the series where we cover our upgrades, our van mods, really anything that makes van life just a little bit easier. You have found Explorer Trek Adventure with Kelly and Greg. We cover everything camping from backpacking to adventure vans.
One word of warning, when you're coming to dispersed areas, avoid these dark areas like the plague. Even if it's not an official fire pit, stay away from these dark areas, and this is why. Let me just show you some of these. People like to bring wood pellets and burn them, and that's where all these nails come from. I think I'm gonna end up taking the traction boards down, lining it up there, so when we back out, when we leave here, I can make sure that we're not gonna get punctured. We're gonna be going on some longer trips this summer, and this thing is a hog when it comes to fuel. It only has a 21-gallon tank. We're gonna need to carry some extra fuel. We added this can holder up here, and that gives us the ability to have a 5 or 6 gallon tank up there. On the previous videos, you noticed that we had our propane tank on the left side, and that was primarily so we could stand here on the step and be able to reach everything. But in order to run this tank holder up there, we moved it all the way over. It still works okay. I can still reach it and unlock it and get to it. That's fine. But this way, this just comes perfectly flush, and it doesn't stick out too far, so when the monster box opens, it doesn't hit. And we primarily picked this one also because it has this nice locking mechanism, so people can't just walk off with your extra fuel. This actually came with this lock. A lot of people complained about it. It's not the best quality lock. It's okay. But this locking mechanism is pretty awesome, and I can actually reach it from the ground, which is kind of key. This is a 6-gallon tank made by Midwest, and they advertise as being able to use several different kinds of tanks. You just have to have one that has a handle on the back so you can put your lock in there. The Midwest ones fit great, and we're gonna be going with the yellow one for the diesel. This was never meant to be mounted like this, so I did have to modify it just slightly. So let me show you. If we look up here, you can see that I actually drilled through the side of this thing, and there are 3 holes just perfectly in the B2 carrier, and we just used the bolts that came with the actual monster box. Drilling holes through this box to mount it was super easy. It almost felt like it was aluminum. It was that easy. We went and looked it up, and it is made out of steel. So after you drill your holes, make sure that you paint them really well. One thing I didn't want to do is I didn't want to set this directly onto the box. So I got these little standoffs, and they're just little rubber cubes, and they give just enough space to where water will be able to run off, and we won't have to worry about any rust.
This next one took a little while for us to realize that we definitely wanted to change. We ended up adding this new shelf. Someone had mentioned it online, and it expands the whole length of the cabinet. And it's also adjustable via height. Just be aware that this did take a little while to adjust. There are 4 screws in every single leg. So when you want to adjust the height, you got to undo them all.
On one of our previous videos, we mentioned this temperature sensor. Well, guess what? We completely destroyed one of these because it turns out they are not completely waterproof. They're water resistant, but not proof. We dropped ours in probably like 6 inches of water because we were completely underwater at camp a couple weeks ago. So we got a replacement. Cool thing is there are replacements. The replacement actually has a little thermometer built into the sensor itself. Pretty cool. We finally got around to hard mounting our Starlink, and the first part of the process was to run our cable up through this port. The awesome part is Winnebago actually included an access port that everything is drilled. So there, all you gotta do is unscrew this. And I haven't put it back on yet because I'm waiting to see if there's any moisture coming down. So we'll watch that. Inside this cabinet, there's a 12 volt and various other things, but primarily that 12 volt is the one we want. Veritas does have this new cable that has the 12 volt, but they also include a DC barrel connector or a USB-C cable. For us, there's really only one good spot to put the Starlink. So it's up in the top corner, which I'll show you in a second. But we have the extra cable in here, and that way, in case we wanted to plug in either the Jackery or the Bluetti, the big thing is you have extra cable in here in case you needed to reach whatever you're going to power it with. Let's go check out the actual mounting up on the roof. You can see our nice toilet area over here. We have the most stupendous view. So you go up on the roof. Okay, so you can see the Starlink. This is pretty much that only open hole right there. So we have the magnetic mounts, and that's stuck right there. Works great. We did have somebody ask us that if it's hard mounted and you're not able to move it around, well, you could still pop it off, but if you're leaving it on there and it's not in the correct orientation, technically I think it should be totally turned 90 degrees. You know, is that a big deal? And for us, we've had 100% connectivity, so it doesn't seem to be a big deal. And when I say 100% connectivity, we don't have any trees blocking our views, but the most part, the orientation hasn't affected our connectivity. This box right here is basically on the other side of that hole I showed you inside of that cabinet. It basically comes in and they just stuck this black box over the top and glued it all down. So to get access into it, there's no doors or anything to open. You just have to drill right into the side. And it's a little tough to fish this wire through. So I stuck a really long zip tie down and then tied this wire on there and then pulled it through that way. That seemed to work okay. You end up installing the Sea-View port here. That actually wasn't too hard to do. The hard part was getting this little rubber attachment here. They give you these brass looking attachments and you can drill a hole, and you want to pick the right size of the cable you have. I ended up using a drill bit. That it seemed to work better. And then once you get everything in, you tighten it all up and that makes a watertight finish. I did end up putting a little bit of silicone around all the edges just a little extra.
And that brings us to our sponsor, Veritas Vans. They make Starlink mounts and accessories. They also make products to help you build out your van. Everything from wall paneling, cabinetry, dinette, garage, kitchen, bed, and even electrical. These mounts are built really well. It's a really strong material. And let's face it, the Starlink satellite, they're not cheap. And this is going to give that extra layer of protection. They have a couple different options of mounting it. They've got the magnet, and they're super easy to screw on. They also have a suction cup, and also it is easily to screw on as well.
So say you have a fiberglass roof and you want to use these magnets, you can use these metal plates they have. It has VHB tape on the side. They also have a bunch of different cabling options. This one is a USB-C on the end. They have the normal 12 volt, and then they have the option that we're using in there that has the 12 volt USB-C and then the barrel connector.
If you're looking to kit out your van or need some Starlink accessories, go check out Veritas Vans. For those rainy nights, or like us last night, just didn't want to go to bed and watch 3 episodes of Survivor, we added this iPad mount, and it goes onto the existing Ram track. It's a perfect angle so we can easily sit in the front seat and enjoy a movie.
There seems to be a lot of confusion online about what goes onto these tracks. Well, these are pretty much standard Ram tracks as far as I can see. And this is a standard 1-inch Ram ball mount. And the awesome part about this is they included Ram tracks all over the place. Like there's one right here where you can put stuff. I think we're actually gonna put our paper towel here eventually. They put one right here. I don't know what you would do, because if you had stuff here, you would smash your legs into it when you got into bed. There's some on the back, but if you're looking for Ram track mounts, just look for anything with these T-bolts, and this is the standard 1-inch. One last thing about these Ram accessories is this actually technically isn't a Ram branded thing, although it clamps on perfectly because it's just a simple 1-inch ball here. A lot of the overlanders like to buy, like, I think they make I don't know what the brand is, but it's like a big X, and they're like 60 bucks, and probably could be worth it if you're putting it on your dash. But if you're stationary like this, there's a lot of good inexpensive options like this.
Nexus Print sent us a bunch of their accessories, and we use them a ton. This is the cord console, and attached to their track system is the clip, the bowl, and the phone mount. But what we haven't talked about is this tray.
I have to be honest with you, when he said he was going to send this to us, I was a little bit unsure of like, would we actually use this? So we installed it, and basically this tray sits under this little lip here, and then on the bottom it attaches to the cup holders. But it actually has turned out really well. It basically becomes like the nightstand of the van. It gives you that flat spot. I end up putting my keys up here when we get in. I'll have a spot for my sunglasses. We got our binoculars here right now when we're stationary. But we also found that we can hang our garbage can over this tray. And now the garbage can, instead of being over the back of the seat, which always gets in the way when you get in through the slider, just hangs right here. Plus, it's all black. It kind of like blends in with everything. And if you look here, this is probably the best part. It's got this rubber coating, so when you're going around corners, stuff doesn't go flying off. We have a whole video covering all the Nexus gear. If you're curious about those, we'll put a link down in the description. In our quest to deter thieves, we've added more locks. We've got locks all through here and here because, you know, you got to lock up your coffee. It's just to pretty much deter somebody when they make it in here. This one has a lock, but we added a lock now for this little bench seat here. Cool part about this one is it's kind of hidden away, so they would have to know it's there, or they would have to ransack the place to get to it. There's not a lot of good pry points. They could still probably get it open if they wanted to. And now our extra Ziploc baggies are completely secure. This would definitely be a good spot for laptop or iPads or anything flat, but I don't like, honestly, this lock. I wish there was one with a big, kind of a big plate on there. Maybe somebody knows of a brand, but until then, this actually will do the job.
To make the van more suitable for long-term use, and we like to cook a lot, we've added 2 appliances. The first appliance is the Instapot. We actually store it in the back. It is a 3-quart size, the smallest one that they have. If you haven't used an Instapot before, it is pretty easy to use. You basically toss your food in, push a button, and it is cooked. We actually use it for a lot for curries or soups.
Second appliance we added is a little tiny blender, and we keep it in here. And this guy is made by Ninja, and we actually saw these at Costco, but they were a 2-pack, and we want just one for the van, so we just ordered it online. It's super nice because if you're doing like a soup base where you need to blend something, you can do that. But the biggest thing is I like to be able to throw a couple berries, some protein powder in there, a little bit of milk, and then you can make some smoothies super easy, and it's rechargeable. I did want to update you about the air compressor setup. So we installed everything, we got everything mounted. Well, we actually used this thing in a real life scenario this last weekend. We aired down. Airing down process took about 2 to 3 minutes. That was actually super quick. If you've never aired down before, it can make a huge difference, especially in a van when everything rattles. It just makes life so much nicer. Now, when it comes to airing up, that took us about 13 minutes total, which I don't think was very much at all. I would only change one thing with the current setup. I had a problem when I moved all the hoses from the front to the back. They kind of got a little bit tangled up, and to make the process easier, I think I would order 2 different colored cables or colored hoses. Right now I just have 2 10-inch orange hoses, and if I did it again, I'd order one in a different color.
If you've done any van upgrades or mods that we should check out, let us know. You can go watch this video next. You can find us at explorecheckedventure.com, and we'll see you next time.